Okay, here we go. MoneyQuest Corporation. There we go. We want to give you a little bit of background about the company. There we go. I think it's working. We're headquartered in Los Angeles, and we've been in this business for a number of years. We've been recovering profits for clients since the year 2000 with the MoneyQuest Corporation. And most importantly, or equally as important, the principles of the company, those of us that run the company have combined, we have over 50 years experience in the business of improving profits for our clients. So we make that part of what you take advantage of as well. Now, what I want to give you right now is a service overview and, again, give you an idea that the MoneyQuest service, or the Max Collect is what we call it, it's an outsourcing solution for accounts receivable and NSF checks. And understand something, this is an alternative to using expensive and alienating collection agencies. And that's why clients like it. The other reason they like it, and not one of the other reasons, is that the fees that the client pays are as little as 5%, which is far less than the other options they have that charge up to 50%. And the other thing that's very beneficial, because of how the service is provided and handled for the client typically receives an average of 3 times more of their money recovered than if they use a collection agency. So these are all some of the key benefits, along with the fact that they get a faster recovery of their funds, because with the Max Collect service, the money is always paid directly to the client. And also important to the majority of our clients is that it doesn't alienate their patients or their customers. So they're getting their money recovered, more of it, for less cost without losing their customer. And those are key benefits that any client. Now, a lot of times people will ask us, well, what types of industries do you serve? Well, we serve all types of industries. To give you a general idea here, we work with healthcare providers, which is a big portion of our business, of all different categories. And we also work with all sorts of businesses and professionals. Any company that extends credit on an ongoing basis or accepts checks is a potential client for the services. Now, to give you an idea, these companies range from literally small companies, entrepreneurial, to very large corporations. We also do a lot of work with a lot of associations. Again, some of the major categories and classifications of clients that we provide here are, of course, healthcare, retail, commercial, service, again, any business with overdue accounts. Now, what all of our clients have in common, and they typically have, no matter what business they're in, they typically have a number of things in common in how they handle their accounts. They have basically the same set of alternatives. First of all, their first alternative is to try recovering it in-house and put that effort there. Well, that can be expensive if they don't have things automated, if they don't have a system, if they change personnel, and it tends to be inconsistent. And again, inconsistent follow-up produces inconsistent results. The other option they have is they can utilize legal action. They can hire an attorney, which is very effective. We know that's part of what we do. However, when they do that on their own, that's very expensive, and if it isn't done properly, it can alienate their customers. So again, that's an option, but expensive if not done the right way. Or they can charge it off, and some people do that. Now, if they do, they take the write-off, and at the same time, what they're also getting is a reputation for being easy with their clients. You know, go do business with Dr. Jones. You don't have to pay him. So, again, that's not really a best solution, but it is one. Or the most common solution that people seek out, because it's generally the only one they know of, is to use a collection agency. And typically agencies will charge anywhere from 30 to 50% of what's recovered without getting a whole lot of results. And a little bit later here, we're going to give you a difference between what we do and what collection agencies do. Or the other solution, which is what we provide, again, as an alternative to collection agencies, is Max Collect. Now, let me tell you what Max Collect is. Max Collect produces a series of increasingly demanding letters. Now, it's important they are written a certain way. These are coming from the client, not a collection agency. So number one, that's important. Number two, all payments are directed to the client. At no time do we ever handle the client's money, and that's very important. Now, when the written communications come out, and we're going to show you some samples here in just a bit, they have the impact that's included is of credit bureau reporting, collection agency effort, and intensive attorney intervention at some point. And I do want to point something out here because this is a question that's come up and it's on people's minds right now. How effective can something be? There are people that are out there that maybe are not working and a number of things. And what I tell people is this. The people that can pay and should pay but aren't paying, our system will motivate them to pay, and that's all anybody can do because it's thorough and it gets the job done. Now, what do we actually do here? Okay, let's show you some sample letters and give you an idea of how this is done so you get an understanding of this. Now, in the sample letters, there are a total of 5 in-house. Now, 4 of them are letters that are written, demand letters to get paid. And at any point in the series, one of them that we'll send out is a thank you letter once the client has paid. Now, for the most part here, what I want to show you is how these are set up and how these make effect here. If you look, and you can't see this here in the slide, however, every one of the written communications goes out on a check stock paper that changes color, and that check stock shows through the window envelope. So again, half of the issue with getting people to pay is getting the message delivered. So we're able to get it delivered, first of all, to get them to open the communication 2 ways. One, by the check stop, and 2, we have as the return address, it's right up here in the upper left-hand corner. The client's return address is inside, so they wouldn't get, for example, if they received an invoice or something from someone they know they owe money to, they see who it's from. A lot of times it doesn't even get opened. But when they see something on check stock paper with a different return address, they're going to open that. So, and we're going to show you what's in these. Now, these are set up with the client's information here, the debtor information here. This is what shows through the window envelope. And there's a reference number if the client cares to use it, their account number, the date of that the service was incurred, the debt incurred by the client, the total amount due, and a delinquent fee. Most of our clients add a late fee of $25, and then the total amount due. And then we'll show you the verbiage in a minute. And then with every one of these, down here at the bottom, there is a 10-off remittance voucher along with a window envelope. So it makes it very easy for that patient or that customer to remit payment right back to our client using that window envelope. So again, we make it very easy for the debtor to respond. Now the first one is the past due notice. And again, we've highlighted it here again with the amounts owed, etc. And again, it starts out with very positive. We value your relationship. We haven't received payment, so we assume there's a problem or a misunderstanding. If there's a problem, let us know. Also, since you haven't paid in a timely manner, a delinquent billing charge of $25 has been added to the amount due. Please remit immediately or make arrangements to clear up this matter. And this will come from, again, the client. So it has the client's return information, address and phone number, and the client's contact information. So it's very important that, again, the debtor knows it's not from a collection agency. Now, if they don't respond to that, 14 days later, the next notice goes out. And this is, there we go, the delinquent notice. And again, still showing the amounts. The message now starts to contain information that we haven't heard from you. It's seriously past due. And this is where we mentioned that call us or make arrangements, and we may report this to a credit reporting bureau for refusal to pay. Again, we would like to handle this in good faith. Make your payment too. So again, they get progressively stronger, but now this is the first motivation, that the consequence, if you will, it's not threat, it's a consequence of not paying. And then 14 days later, again, if they're not paid, the next one will go out, and this is seriously past due. Now in this one, again, it refers back to the previous notices. We haven't received your cooperation. It appears that you don't want to pay voluntarily, and regretfully, we have to consider forwarding this to either a collection agency or our attorney. Now, it's important you understand, in any written communication, as far as collecting any money goes, unless you have the capability of following through with credit reporting, attorney, or anything, you can't actually say you're going to do something unless you actually make a practice of doing that. And it's very important that we give our clients the capability of doing this, the motivation to get people pay. And again, so this one, again, the attorney will be involved or collection. And then the final written communication is just that, and it says final demand. Again, in as much as you've disregarded our previous payment requests, we have no alternative. Well, let's go back here. Let's go back one. Here we go. But to consider reporting this to the credit agency, and again, we're letting you know as of the Fair and Accurate Transactions Act. And again, this will be sent to our attorney for review unless we hear from you. You can avoid any pending attorney action only if payment is made immediately. Now, again, this is the final thing. So some people, they want to see if they're really going to follow through, and they see that we do follow through. Now, those are the 4 written demands that go out. Now, at this point, all right, I'm going to go down here, page. I'm seeing something here coming up on the screen. There we go. Okay. Now, after this, if they still haven't paid, then 14 days later, there's going to be an automated phone call. Now, this is using where the patient or the customer is notified by telephone on the client's behalf. It's an automated call that simply says, please call such and such, the name of the client. This call is for so-and-so, the name of the debtor, and it gives them the options to call the client directly so they know that they need to follow through. So, again, the key to getting paid is persistence. Persistence wears down resistance, and it gets people to call and either make a payment arrangement, make payment. It gives them those options and does it diplomatically. Now, if after all that they still haven't paid, then at that point, once that 4th demand goes out in that phone call, the file is then sent over to their retained attorney's office, so the attorney has it on file as is necessary. And at that point, there would be up to 3 attorney letters that go out from their retained attorney. Let's go back here just a bit. And these, again, would have the attorney's office for that particular client, letting them know that they represent that client, and they are, at this point, still telling them to pay the client directly. The attorney at this point is not handling any money. All payments are still directed to the client. So this is the 4 in-house written communications, 1 phone call, and 3 attorney letters where the debtor is being instructed to pay the attorney. Now, at this point, if after all of this they still haven't paid, then at that point, the attorney's office will then start handling directly with the debtor, and on accounts that are over $100, the attorney will make phone calls to make the account paid. Now, understand something. On there, when the call goes out from the attorney's office, the caller ID says attorney. So people, when they see something coming from an attorney, people, even when they're getting those letters initially, they could think, who knows what they could think. But the importance is there, and it gets them to pay attention and to get it paid. Now, if they don't pay as a result of that, then the attorney's office, we can work with the client on accounts that have not been resolved. If it justifies further action, the client can, at their discretion, have the attorney litigate on their behalf. Naturally, the balance would have to warrant suit. And in the attorney retainer, we talk about this in the sign-up fee with the client. We take care of retaining the attorney. Now, this whole automated system, if the client were to try and put this together on their own, written communications automatically done, automatically updated if there's a new address that's received during the mail-out series. If they had to retain attorney, most attorneys, even if you have them retained, just to have them write 1 letter would charge $75 to $100 just to write 1 letter. So this is all included in our service to get started. Now, if after all of this, the account still hasn't paid, And at that point, the client would be notified that the account is going to be reported to the credit bureau. And if for some reason the client doesn't want it to proceed to the credit bureau reporting, they would stop it at this point. They have the option of doing that. However, most people choose to have that option continue on because down the road it could bring in some additional money for them. Now, what kind of results does our system get for them, this whole system you've seen? Well, let me show you here. Now, let's compare this to collection agencies. If you look at a typical collection agency, and again, this has actually gone down, but on average, they recover about 14% of all their accounts that are assigned. Their average fee across the board is 34%. Now, understand, this fee is taking into account what are known as commercial rates that are, 20% rates. The average, what we call retail rate, for example, doctors with individual people pay 40 to 50%, but these are the averages. Now, our average recovery rate with the max collect is 41% of the accounts assigned at an average cost of only 10%. So we're looking at over 3 times the amount at a third of the cost. So it is substantial what the client is recovering. Now, along with that, people need to know, why does this work so well? Because people say, why does this work so much better? Well, we give people the tools. Creditors have tools that they can work with. First of all, that implied harm to credit, which, and it's not only more than implied, it will happen if the client chooses that option, and it will be on their credit record. It also has the legal action if needed. And finally, the debtors are contacted earlier. This is another important aspect of the service. Because of the aging in accounts receivable is so important, the sooner the client uses us, the higher the results they get. And I'm going to show you why we give our clients an incentive to do that, so your client can use it much, much sooner. Now, let's talk about what does the client pay. Well, let me give you a couple of things here on this screen. Let's pop a couple of things up. First of all, to get the whole system set up, the client pays a one-time lifetime fee of $495. Now, when they pay that, that's covering a number of items. Number one, it's setting up the whole automated system. It's creating those letters for them, creating for them a 24/7 password-protected web-based system that they can access to review their clients. It's retaining the attorney, and it's also covering the training of anyone on their staff that will be submitting accounts and reporting payments. And if they change their staff, they will be trained again at no additional charge. That's all done telephonically. Now, when a client submits an account, they're billed the following month $12.95 per account. This handles the processing fee. And typically, this is offset by that $25 delinquent fee, because when most people pay, they typically pay that fee, and it offsets the $12.95, and some people even make money on that, which is not their goal, but sometimes it becomes a profit. But so the real net cost to use the service is the percentage fee, and it's a time-driven schedule. If the client uses us on accounts that are up to 60 days past due, their fee is only 5%. If they wait till 61 to 120, then the fee is 10%, and then it goes up accordingly, 15%, 20, 25, et cetera, on the older accounts. Now, when they get to the attorney phase of things, not the letter portion, but from the phone calls, if the attorney has to phone to get the money, then they pay a 25% fee to the attorney, not any of these fees, and if they litigate, it's 35%. And understand, the bulk of the money that is collected in this system right here. And again, the sooner the client uses us, the more they get recovered and the lower fee that they pay. And that's really what the goal of this is to do. Now, how do we stack up and compare against collection agencies? Because people ask that, well, how are you different? Let me give you an idea here. I think it's going to flip over. All right, collection agencies should be coming up here. Just a second. Well, there we go. All right. Now, here's the difference. As far as the cost, the collection agency charges from 30 to 50%. Our fees are much lower, as little as 5%. And another aspect, very important, agencies skim accounts. What they do is they leave these small balances or the difficult accounts virtually unworked and then tell the client they're not collectible. Not true. In Max Collect, every single account is thoroughly and systematically worked regardless of the amount. With the collection agency, the client loses control. The agency receives the payment. The communication goes to the agency. They have no control of what's going on. In Max Collect, all money is paid directly to the client. They handle their own money, and they have the power to maintain and create a payment arrangement. We feel that nobody's better qualified to work with their clients to make it a payment arrangement than the client. With collection agencies, they're famous for lack of detailed reporting. The client never knows what's going on. With Max Collect, they have detailed reports. They can access their web-based system 24/7 and see exactly who's in there, what communications they've received, the status, who's paid, who's working. It's all right there. A limited recovery with collection agencies, there's little impact. They have to be careful what they say, believe it or not. Whereas with Max Collect, because the credit bureau reporting, the attorney letters, the phone calls, and the possibility of litigation, these are things that happen every day for clients. These motivations are in force for our clients. And finally, and very importantly for some people, is the loss of customers. Collection agencies, the client might get paid if they use a collection agency, but one thing is certain, they're not going to be retaining their clients because of any diplomacy that the agency used. With Max Collect, the client can maintain a customer relationship with their patient, their patient or their client, because we send out a thank you letter if they request it at no additional charge. This goes out to them. Now,